After receiving the product, inspect its appearance, structural parts, and packing list for any damage or inconsistencies with the ordered product. If any issues are found, contact your distributor immediately. Please carefully inspect the contents according to the provided item list after unpacking. If you notice any damage or items missing, kindly reach out to the dealer for assistance. We have accessories at the top, including an installation plate, a user manual, a quick installation guide, and the necessary installation accessories for the packaging. Remove the 3-phase hybrid inverter from the packaging box. Take out the installation board. When installing, please use a spirit level or a leveling ruler to ensure that the mounting plate is in a horizontal position. Put the mounting plate on the wall horizontally and mark positions for drilling holes. Drill holes to a depth of 80 mm using the hammer drill. The diameter of the drill bit should be 10 mm. Note: make sure there is no electrical connection. Before installation, before drilling, avoid the water and electricity wiring in the wall. Remove the expansion sleeve and install it directly into the prepared hole or secure the mounting plate. Using the expansion bolts, use an electric screwdriver to install and tighten the self-tapping screws into the expansion sleeve. Install the inverter on the mounting plate. Remove the side fixing screws of the inverter and tighten them using an electric screwdriver. Retrieve the PV terminals and communication terminals from the accessory box. Strip the insulation from each DC cable by 7 mm to 8 mm. Use a dedicated crimping tool to securely crimp the stripped bare copper conductor. Loosen the nut on the terminal housing and slide the nut and waterproof washer onto the PV power line in the correct order. Insert the crimped wire from the back of the PV terminal housing into the terminal, ensuring you hear a click sound to confirm successful fixation. Tighten the cap at the back of the terminal. Be sure to check the polarity correctness. Perform the same operation on the other end, making sure to insert it from the back of the PV terminal housing into the terminal. Once you hear a click sound, it indicates successful fixation. COM connection DRM COM connection follows the same process. Use wire strippers to strip a small section of the outer sheath from one end of the communication cable, exposing the inner wires. Insert the wires into the crystal connector side by side, in the specified order shown in the diagram. Use a dedicated crimping tool to securely fasten the crystal connector onto the communication cable. Note: during installation, ensure that the pins at both ends of the communication cable correspond to each other. Remove the nut and rear cover of the meter communication wire terminal. Take a 2-core communication wire and slide the nut and rear cover onto the wire in sequence. Secure the red wire of the 2-core communication wire to terminal 6 of the meter. Secure the blue wire to terminal 5. Use a small Phillips screwdriver to tighten the wire ends. Install the terminal rear cover onto the communication terminal head. Install the nut onto the terminal rear cover and tighten it clockwise. Strip the power wires of the grid terminal according to the pattern shown in the diagram using wire strippers. Secure a circular terminal on the on line and using a crimping tool. Separate the nut, waterproof washer, and rear cover of the grid terminal. Slide the nut, waterproof washer, and rear cover onto the grid wire in the specified order. Secure the grid terminal onto the terminal head. Using a matching hex screwdriver, tightening them in sequence. Install the rear cover and waterproof washer onto the terminal head from the rear end in the specified order. EPS is installed in the same sequence as the grid terminal. Follow step 1, 2, 3 to tighten the apps terminal nut back. Connect L1, L2, L3, and TAID to the corresponding position of the apps terminal and tighten it with the corresponding tool. Follow step 1, 2 to insert the terminals into the inverter grid socket. The final product should resemble the one shown in the video. Strip a small section of the outer insulation of the communication cable using a professional wire stripper to expose the inner wires. Insert the wires into the waterproof connector assembly, one by one. Then, use a crimping tool to crimp the RJ45 crystal head onto the wires. Strip one end of the ground wire using wire strippers. Use a crimping tool to secure the terminal onto the stripped end of the ground wire. Repeat the same process for the other end of the ground wire. Secure one end of the ground wire to the side of the enclosure using an M5 screw and a Torx screwdriver. Secure the other end of the ground wire to the main ground terminal. Connect a battery ground wire to the inverter enclosure. Please ensure that the ground wire is connected to the main ground terminal, following the specified sequence. Do not connect all ground wires together and then connect them to the main ground terminal. Connect the grid ground wire to the pay bar. Then connect the EPS to the loads. And connect the apps ground wire to pay bar. Finally, connect the grid ground wire to pay bar. Install the PV wire with PV terminals into the PV input terminal, located at the bottom left corner of the enclosure. Install the battery wire with battery terminals into the battery input terminal located at the bottom left corner of the enclosure. Install the battery communication wire into the COM port, located at the bottom end of the enclosure. Connect the communication wire of the electricity meter to the communication port located on the bottom end of the enclosure. Install the Wi-Fi dongle into the Wi-Fi port. Please install the grid terminals and apps terminals to their corresponding interfaces on the inverter, following the example shown in the diagram. Connect the other end of the battery power wire to the output terminal of the battery. Connect the other end of the battery communication cable to the battery communication port. Use a wire crimper to install the grid wires L1, L2, L3, and onto the terminals. Install the grid wires with terminals one by one, corresponding to the input terminals of the meter. Similarly, install the grid wires from the inverter onto the terminals using a wire crimper. Install the grid wires with terminals from the inverter onto the output terminals of the electricity meter. Take the other end of the two-core communication wire and strip it using a wire stripper to expose the copper wires. Install the red wire corresponding to terminal 6 into the communication port H of the electric meter using a screwdriver. Install the blue wire corresponding to terminal 5 into the communication port L of the electric meter, as shown in the diagram. Terminal 21 corresponds to the H end. while terminal 22 corresponds to the L end. First, turn on the grid switch, then turn on the app switch. Move the DC switch from the off to on. Finally, the screen will light up. After unpacking, please cross-reference the item list for any damage or loss and promptly notify the dealer. We have accessories at the top, including the control box, battery base, accessory box, module box *N. Attach the support buttons to the base, and adjust their height as needed to ensure the levelness of the base. Then, install the module box and control box onto the base. Use screws to secure the middle partition. Then remove the side partitions in preparation for wiring. Power line connection. Connect the NC for connectors in sequence. Connect the grounding wires with one connected to the module box and one to the bottom of the module box. Note, the topmost grounding wire should be connected to the control box, and the last grounding wire should be connected to the base. Communication line connection. Connect the RJ45 connectors in sequence. Finally, reattach the cover securely with screws to complete the battery installation.